Honestly, I just have always gotten into music because it was cheaper than therapy at the time. And so I was like, this is how I'm going to save myself.
Literally, that's how I'm going to work it out. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And so when we signed to a major, that really was like, this was not on my bingo card for life. And it really was something where, to be quite honest, I was ready to quit music the week we got signed to Warner. But I thought it was really funny because every time I've tried to step away from music, the universe pulls me right back in. That was a prime example moment. And so I had zero expectations and I just thought, hey, I'm going to go along for the ride. And it was a ride.
Well, welcome everybody to the pod. Hi, Terra. Hi, Piper.
Hi, David.
Welcome,
Terra.
Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I'm so excited. Terra and I have had so many different intersections in working together through the years. And that was a really fun part of prepping a little for this because I was like, oh yeah, there's been many iterations of our relationship.
There really have been many different lives, I feel.
So for those who don't know, Terra Lopez is a multidisciplinary creative from Sacramento originally, but is a musician, visual artist, activist, podcast host, DJ, publicist. Anything I'm forgetting? Because
I love this.
You know what I mean? I was like, there probably is, but we're just going to stick to that. A lot of your music also has some art installation. A lot of it is around community activism, gender equality, emotional storytelling, queer liberation. Definitely want to talk about shifting into mental health, all of the things. So that is Terra Lopez in a very long hyphenated sentence.
Thank you for that incredible intro.
Yeah, so happy to have you here. So I'm pretty sure the first time we ever met, I was playing in a band called Double Duchess, and we met in Sacramento because Sister Crown was playing a show.
Yes.
Right? And we opened for you guys, right?
Where was that?
Oof. Sacramento. That's about all I got. I'm lucky I got there. Like I was like, because that's the first time we've ever played.
You don't even know how you got to Sacramento.
Yeah, I really don't.
Oh my gosh, yes. I remember just being enamored by your set and the energy.
Same. And in my mind, they couldn't have been more different. Like Krylon and I are literally running around being funny little psychopaths that we are. And your set was so like emotionally and intense. And I love both equally all the time. I was like, wow, we have quite a range together. And then I think, and this is where you truly need to help me, we were billed for a bigger festival around that same year because I remember seeing your name and I feel like it was Gay by Gay Gay.
Oh my gosh.
Do you remember that?
Wow. You just unlocked so many memories for me. I have not thought about that in a long time.
For anybody who does not know, I did not just make this up. Gay by Gay Gay happened at the last day of South by Southwest.
Yes.
And it was basically all the liberal queers. There's so much good community work that happens in Austin through this huge festival that had no fun. It was like the opposite of South by and the fact that there was no corporate funding, nothing like that. And it was just in the middle of nowhere. And it was such an epic moment. I still remember that show to this day.
Favorite kinds of shows to play and to attend.
That was in 2013 because I did find the bill. I fast forward to a couple years later. Swagger Like Us started a record label called Molly House Records, and we were looking for PR, and somebody was like, oh yeah, Terra Lopez. I don't think I was like, knock knock, does Terra Lopez? Yeah, you know what I mean? I think they're like, oh, we have a great PR person, it's Terra Lopez. And I was like, what? So you were very much an introduction for us in PR land. I guess my first question is, obviously I knew you as an artist first and you had been pursuing music. We can definitely get into that trajectory of how it turned into Rituals of Mine and everything. But I was always intrigued. What was the motivation for you around that time to start working in the industry and PR specifically?
I love that question. I had been an artist for years and really wanted to understand the back end of the industry. And also as an indie artist, you have to wear many hats. You have to do a lot on your own. So I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to have to do this anyways, I'm going to become a publicist and really learn the world inside and out. Luckily, I knew Jess and Gio at Terra I loved them. They were just and are just incredible people. I was persistent in asking every time I saw Gio, do y'all need a publicist? Do y'all need a publicist? And they finally were like, all right, I broke them down. They finally
Nice,
um,
nice.
allowed me in, and I loved it because I was just learning as much as possible, but I was able to help and work with artists that I truly believed in.
Mm.
Through my years at Terra I really found a niche of working with artists, queer artists, people of color, and artists that have that intersection of activism and music. I was able to champion those that I believed in, aka you and Molly House.
I mean, that seems like it would make PR really easy because you're already 100% sold on something. So you're just going out into the world and bringing your natural energy to what you're already believing in.
Yeah, it certainly helped working at Terra because we were given permission to only say yes to projects we wanted to take on and that we believed in, which I think that's a luxury for a
Yeah.
lot of publicists. It was so exciting to take on projects that I truly were fans of,
Mhm.
because the day-to-day grind of being a publicist is very tough, and you have to believe in what you're pitching. Otherwise, I don't know how people do it, to be honest.
It's
Sure.
like, no thanks. I don't need that slog in my life.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there was like the connections, you're sort of, which are obviously helpful for your own projects when they release. But yeah, it was really helpful, I think, to motivate me to learn a little bit more about the industry as well, really, because that is part of it where it's, yeah, I'm an artist, I'm touring, but there's this whole business side of it where it's oftentimes that's where a lot of people either want to keep that separation where they're like, I just want to focus on being an artist and I don't want to know anything about the other part. And then there's people who get a little bit fed up with not getting an opportunity. And so it's like, well, I got to make it myself. You know what I mean? And so
100%.
yeah, it's a little bit how from the outside viewed your role in that. And I was like, that's so smart. I was always curious about that.
That's so cool that you even noticed and recognized that. Thank you. That's awesome. I definitely get artists who want to keep those worlds completely separate. I just was never in a situation or a position where I could. It really
Yeah.
is. I feel like I've had to be so scrappy this entire time I've been in the industry and still to this day. And so it is, like you said, creating your own opportunities because I just had to. It was out of necessity, and I was at Terra for almost 8 years. I learned so much, the connections that I made, the people that I met, and it all still applies to my life now.
Sure.
It was such a cool opportunity. I always try to find work because, again, that's another aspect. I'm not able to be an artist full time one day. But I always want to work in places, one, I have to be passionate about the work.
Mhm.
That is number one for me. I admire folks who can work a 9 to 5 and clock in, clock out. I cannot do that. I have to be passionate about it. It has to move me in some way. And
Um,
also, I love learning. I love learning. So, any job I've ever had, I really try to find the education in that day to day.
yeah. So just to get a little bit more backstory, Tara's in a lovely, lovely project called Rituals of Mine. I am obsessed with it. It's amazing. Everybody listen, stream it out, especially our collabs together. Tell people sort of what it was like to get signed to a major and then the shift of what happened when you came to LA and had to reinvent the project. Because that was around the time you were starting with Terror Bird.
Yeah. So, I was in a project called Sister Crayon for years, probably at least 10. And honestly, I just have always gotten into music because it was cheaper than therapy at the time. And so I was like, this is how I'm going to save myself.
Time I'm gonna work it out, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so I really did not have expectations for anything. And so when we signed to a major, that really was like, this was not on my bingo card for life. And it really was something where, to be quite honest, I was ready to quit music
Mm.
the week we got signed to Warner. I had some heavy losses in my life. My father passed away, my best friend passed away, and I was really evaluating what I wanted to do with my life. And then we got the call from Warner Brothers, Samantha Maloney, who is a total badass. And she is the reason and only reason I signed to a major because she was our A&R rep, and I adore her. But I just thought it was really funny because every time I've tried to step away from music, the universe pulls me right back in. That was a prime example moment. And yeah, and so I had zero expectations and I just thought, hey, I'm going to go along for the ride. And it was a ride. I learned and learned so much. There were so many pros and there were so many cons. But I've worked with indie labels and a major label. And the one thing I would say, the thorough line of it all, is you really do have to do a lot of things yourself. No matter, even if you're on the Warner Brothers of the labels, they're looking to you for guidance. They're looking to you for your vision. And they're also looking for you to execute everything. I loved it because I was like, okay, they're not going to try to morph me into something that I'm not. But I will say, and this is something that I always wanted to preface, because on Reddit, which is so weird, there's Reddit threads about this debate of why did Sister Crayon change their name to Rituals of Mine? It was my choice. I came to the label. Like I said, I had just lost my dad. I had just lost my best friend. And they knew me as Sister Crayon. And it didn't feel right to continue the project name. I wanted to reinvent it in all the ways. And so that is why I changed, and they were happy. Of course, they were like, yes, let's go with it.
Yeah.
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you completely did. Let's not leave it up to Reddit to fill in the gaps. Now we know. Now we have the
no one forced
verbatim facts.
No one forced me. I will say I was actually really surprised signing to a label of how much creative freedom we did have. I think it was because of our A&R rep. Otherwise, I don't think they would have known what to do with me and Danny.
Sure. Yeah.
But our A&R rep, Samantha, she toured with Holes. So she was Holes drummer during the 90s and was such a badass. She knew going in, here's what we're going to avoid. Let's create your own lane. My time there, I loved. I was able to get the resources I needed. We went on some incredible tours. And then there was also the pressure of it all as well. When it came time to working on a new record, I remember we walked in, had a single, and we're sharing it with an executive there. And after he listened, he was like, well, that's ambitious. In a bad way. And I was like, am I not supposed to be ambitious?
Right. Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
This is the music industry. If it's not ambitious, it ain't gonna go nowhere.
No. And then also one other time I walked out on a meeting because an executive told me that women in the industry have a shelf life. Once they hit 25, it's over. I was 31. And so I looked at him and I was like, then why did you sign me? And then walked out. You have those experiences for sure. But I was able to get the gear that I needed. I was able to get a touring van. I was able to meet some folks that are still very much in my life. I had no expectations for this wild industry in this world. And so for me, it was comical. It was funny. I was like, okay, sure, I'll do this.
Sure.
I almost feel like things end up working out better when you don't have those expectations, or you're like attached to an outcome or attached to a timeline and can just be along for the ride. It's really not up to us to have every finite detail of our lives, of our futures defined and be charging forward. You have to let life be a mystery. You have to let the uncertainties unfold. And it's the saying, it's the journey, it's not the destination. It is really true. And it sounds like you were really able to just fasten your seatbelt in that new tour van and go on the ride.
Yeah, I definitely have learned from that experience of, okay, maybe I should have some concrete goals, but also be flexible in life, but also in this industry. Nothing goes how you plan for it. There are so many twists and turns and falling outs and people falling into your life. It really is about embracing it. I try to take each situation that I'm in life in general, is again, just going back to that education. Like, what can I learn from this moment? And how can I be better in this situation? How could I have treated this situation better? How could I treat those around me better? So it really is just trying to learn as much as I can.
That's amazing. So I did not realize that this is what it feels like, which is Terra's podcast that is amazing. Like,
it's
so
award-winning.
Right. Literally. Let's
like
talk about these.
People have said it is a
talk about these accolades. Right. Second season, top of the top 10 list, number 2 for a while. Is that right? I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah,
butchering it, but
society and culture, which was really cool.
That's huge.
amazing. Yeah. What made you want to step out of music into that lane?
Something that a lot of people don't know about me is my actual first love is audio and radio, public radio primarily. Like I have videos and tapes of me at age 4 going around the house and interviewing my brother and my dad.
Oh my God, I love this.
What questions would you ask them? I'm dying to know.
Right.
It was called the Tara's Problem Show. You would tell me a problem you had in life, and I would give you advice. And
Come on, Jenny Jones before Jenny Jones was Jenny Jones. I love this.
I've always been fascinated. My dream job is working at NPR, having my own show and being a host of some sort. And so I always knew like I wanted to try. And so in 2017, I started This Is What It Feels Like, the art installation. It was this interactive exhibit where cis men could walk through an experience and feel what it feels like to be a female presenting person in society. The response was amazing. I had no idea what I was doing. I'd never created an art installation before, but I was passionate about trying to do my part in fixing that problem. And it went viral. People started covering it. I started presenting it around the world and working with the Canadian government on various initiatives, and people really responded to it. And so then the pandemic happened, and I was like, how do I continue this exhibit, at home? That turned into the podcast idea. And so I pitched it to our local NPR affiliate station in Sacramento, and they loved it. It took about 2 years to develop the first season. That was an education in itself, so much harder. Y'all know, y'all do this podcast. Creating a podcast is so tough. It is so much harder than recording an album, in my opinion. There's just so much that if you don't make a podcast, you're not going to know just how much work and heavy lifting it takes. But yeah, it took 2 years to release the first season, and that was it just blew me away. The response was incredible. We won NPR's Best Interview Award of 2024, which that was wild to me that we were even on their radar. Because again, I didn't know what I was doing, but just threw myself into it. And so second season came out. We had a really awesome launch party in May, and I am taking a small hiatus to gather my thoughts, and then going to start production on season 3. But I love it. It really is just, what I love about it so much is it has nothing to do with me. Like with music, I have to be the face of it. I'm the singer. I have to really put myself out there. And as I'm getting older, I am a lot more shy. I don't know if y'all experience that.
Oh, yes.
Sure. I
I'm
love
like, welcome to my hidey hole. I will not be exiting anytime soon.
What is that about? I don't
know.
Totally.
Yeah. So the podcast is not about me. And that is fun because I get to speak to folks whose stories I truly believe deserve to be heard and use this platform. And is centered around issues that I'm passionate about, trans rights, mental health, suicide prevention, abortion, ageism, just really trying to do my small part in whatever way I can. That's how I wake up every day. Like, what can I do? And so far, I feel like the podcast is feeling more and more like my lane.
I love this.
Same.
And also, I love that we get to talk about you on this podcast because I think for a lot of our listeners that have had a really unconventional path that's sort of meandering and we're not really sure what's around the next turn, there can be a lot of feeling of second guessing or uncertainty. And then that, of course, can be a feeling that changes or evolves over time in our 20s and parts of our early 30s. I'm absolutely sure I'm going to do it. No idea how it's going to turn out, but here we are, and I've learned a lot. And then that starts to shift as we get older, maybe a little bit more risk averse or not wanting to be at the center, but really wanting to create community in a different way by honoring the stories of other people. So it's so wonderful that we actually get to hear the behind the scenes of the work that you're doing because we're all so similar in that. Yeah.
I can relate in that when I shifted to start wanting to work in mental health. I remember before my first music project, where Piper and I met. I remember being like, yeah, I think I would love to be a therapist. My sister, who's still struggles with paranoid schizophrenia and other things, I've always wanted to be in that field. But at some point, I just wanted to be an artist and do music more. And so when I think the time came, I even remember telling a friend, I was like, when Swagger ended and everything was just like super just hard stop, I told my friend, I said, I think I'm ready to become a therapist or a counselor. She's like, thank God you've been doing that for all of us for the past 10 years in different capacities. And I was like, oh, but then it makes me think about it. Producing with people that you love and care about. So much of that is getting people in the right space to be open and safe and free and can express it. It is the same. We just don't record afterward. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I think I didn't choose music. I think music continued to choose me because in moments of whether it's depression or anxiety, like whatever it was, like music was the only thing that was consistent and made sense to me and I can control and I can output, I could put energy into and it would be safe. How do you think music has shifted for you in that way? / what is a North Star for you now as far as deciding what you want to put your energy into?
I love that question. I last year went through a huge moment where I thought I might be done with music. And I had a full year of grieving and trying to process and find my identity, right? Of been for 2 decades. What am I going to do now? And then kind of just magically, and I say magically because I really do feel like it is, I met a group who I've been a fan of for a while. They're called Lab Rats in Sacramento. They play all the time. They're incredible humans and they're a lot younger than me. We just hit it off. And now they're in rituals of mine. I played my first show in San Francisco this month.
I saw,
with them, and we have some festival dates lined up, and I'm working on figuring out some more shows. It's reinvigorated my love for singing, which I honestly didn't know if that was going to come back. And so now I'm working on an album and working on an EP and working on new music with these guys.
Amazing.
I love it. I think the biggest takeaway though from that was I had to step away, you know, order to get to this place now where I didn't really do much last year in the realm of music, not compared to what I expect of myself. And so my body actually stopped. Like my body was like, you're burnt out, you're stressed out, you can't do this anymore. And I actually had to figure out what was going on with me in that sense, mentally, physically, and spiritually, really. And so now my North Star is I'm taking things a lot less seriously. Like I'm still putting everything that I have into anything I do, but it's more so for me. And if others enjoy it, that's just a bonus. I think it's so important and it's something I've really had to learn. I'm trying to give myself grace with not having to feel productive all the time. That's a big thing. I saw a life coach last year who helped me a lot with that. And trying to feel like I'm enough just as me. The other stuff is just a bonus. We live in a society that tells you the opposite a lot of the time. So I'm really trying to hone in on I am the experience. Everything else is, you know, remembering like you are the experience. Your output, your work, your music is not. It's an element of it. And that's something that I'm definitely still trying to learn. I think my North Star is really just being present and grateful. And I think that will lead me to really where I'm supposed to be, which maybe it still is music, or maybe it's the podcast lane. It's scary, the uncertainty, but I'm really trying to lean into it. Because if I look back in my life and I think of these moments I romanticize in my head, they are the moments where I really didn't know what I was doing. But I think that's my North Star right now. There's nothing quite tangible, but it's more a feeling, you know?
What a perfect answer to what you just described, right? It's, I don't know, but I know. That's literally why we named this podcast that. I think it's, we like know that we want to keep going and we love the things that we're doing, but we couldn't exactly tell you the next thing that might happen or there's no linear situation to that. I fully relate to what you were saying. And I used to always think it was because I was an Aries, sun and moon, which
Same.
Tara and I have talked about that a lot. And
Dang.
we've connected on the
Y'all
struggle.
could rule the world.
The struggle and passion of being an Aries. A client actually dubbed it as Protestant guilt. And I was like, that's a great way to describe it. But I was like, it's very hard for me to do nothing because it affects, what is it saying about me? You know what I mean? Like, rest is something that I want to discuss with you. Because yeah, you're one of those people that I think I've called multiple times. And my first thing I'd say is I was like, girl, how you're doing like, how are you? Like, you are so busy. I'm like, you're one of the only people that makes me feel like I am not doing enough, which obviously we just talked about being a trigger. So it's funny, but it's amazing to watch you do all these things and show up consistently. But what has rest started to look like for you?
So my life coach called me out first session within the first 10 minutes and said, you're buying this book called Rest is Resistance, and you're reading it, and you're going to take notes, and you're going to abide by it, basically. And I felt really seen in that moment because for whatever reason, I mean, I've been this way since I was a kid. You know, I've wondered, is it capitalism? Is it society? But also I'm like, no, I didn't understand those things when I was 5 doing the most, for a 5-year-old. Like, this is just me. And rest, my wife has really tried. We've been together for 10 years, and she made me buy a book called something about, it's like nap. I think it's just called Nap. And it's all about napping. Kelsey, she's quite opposite. She's a homebody. She loves a nap. Like, you do not tell that woman, like, take a nap. She can do it for you.
She's like, already done.
She's like, I'm about to be on my second. What?
Exactly. I am polar opposite. It's been really interesting trying to navigate life with such opposites, but I've learned a lot. And I think what I'm learning more so than anything over the last few years is you either are going to prioritize rest or your body's going to make you prioritize rest. Long story short, went into for a routine physical and got a call the next day and said, you have to go to the emergency room. Your heart might stop. You have 24 hours to figure this out.
What?
And long story short, my hemoglobin levels were so low that I had to get a blood transfusion. I had to be in overnight. It was a big deal. And it really showed me like, oh, my body is like, I am burnt out. Like, I had all these symptoms and all of these things, and I just wasn't even like noticing the signs that my body was trying to tell me for that year leading up to it. Ever since that happened, I hope for other people, you don't have to have that kind of blatant reminder. But for me, it really showed me like, okay, I need to tune into me. I need to learn the art of less is more when it comes to life. I'm a people pleaser. I tend to say yes to nearly everything. And I'm really, really learning to say no. It's not easy. But I'm also trying to learn how to embrace the parts of myself. Like, I do like to stay busy. I really don't like idle time, but also trying to listen to my body when I do need to rest and honoring that. So it's a process.
It's always a process. I'm curious, since I'm not sure of the timeline of how you got involved in Backline, which we want to ask you about, but really wondering first, give the listeners a little intro on what Backline is, but also how did these insights about yourself, your need for rest, how to tune into yourself, inform or shape any of the work that you've been doing with Backline recently?
Yeah, so Backline is a nonprofit organization. We provide free mental health and wellness resources to everyone in the industry. You can be an artist, a tour promoter, security staff at a venue, and their family members. We're not going to turn you away. And we basically help folks find the care they need. The mental health industry can just be so overwhelming. Even if you know you want help, it's like, where do I go for that? Or how do I find it? Even if you have insurance, they don't make it easy. And so Backline's the bridge pretty much. You can call, you get paired with a case manager, and they help guide you through. And whether you're looking for a queer woman of color or a male therapist who specializes in trauma, we figure out through our vetted network of clinicians which I believe you're in.
I am. I see a couple of my guys all the time.
I love it.
Yep.
Everyone in our clinical network has music industry experience,
Mm.
which I think is so important because I've gone to therapists who I feel judged by my lifestyle, or you don't have to explain this to anyone in the network. They all get it. It's been really rewarding working at Backline, helping my community, my friends, friends of friends, and others in the industry just know that we exist, that we're here and we're free. And, the music industry is just so tough. And it's been really rewarding being able to do something with my passion for mental health advocacy. And in turn, it's really helped me learn every day. I'm talking with clinicians about burnout and about mental health. So it inevitably
Mhm.
makes me think, okay, hold on.
Where
Is that
does
me?
this apply?
Yeah.
Literally, yeah.
So it's been such an honor. I've been there for almost 4 years. And again, just learning so much every single day.
That's
I love
amazing.
that.
I like to say that the thing I love about working in mental health is that I get to rehear the stuff I need to apply to myself on a daily basis, which sometimes I need. But it is so helpful to me. That was one of those moments where I'm like, oh my God, this thing exists. Like I wanted to be a music therapist, but I was like, I don't want to get my master's for that. That's crazy. So I can work in music in the way that I understand it, from the more entrepreneurial, independent style of talking about scarcity of work and how you want to make relationships work, even though they're toxic, because it's an opportunity. And I don't know if I'll ever get this. And like the nuances of being a producer and fighting for credits. I like intimately know those struggles. Being able to not have to be able to explain that gets to the heart of stuff so much quicker.
It's huge because,
Yeah.
again, I've had therapists who just don't understand the world that I'm in. I've had therapists literally judge me and say, "You need to get out of this business. Why would anyone do this?" And that's not helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like here I am, help me where
Yeah.
I'm at.
So it's been really nice being able to see a therapist who understands my experience to a certain extent. So that way I don't have to, like, we kind of skip all of that information and just go right into the heart of things, which is crucial for healing.
How
Yeah.
did you get involved working with Backline?
I was at Terra and it was during the pandemic, and I saw that they were hiring for a part-time community manager. And so I just applied. I was like, well, I love mental health and I love music, so let's give it a go. And I was fortunate and I got the role, and it's grown over time really. And where, like, working at a nonprofit, you're wearing many hats. So you're working 3, 4 different roles at a time. And it's just been so wonderful seeing how much the organization has grown just within the time I've been here.
Mm.
We're turning 6 this year. I've been there for about 4, and it's pretty wild how much it's grown.
Obviously, shout out to Chappell Roan for breaking it open and like
Totally.
publicly being like, this is a issue, like a national issue. And I think
Yeah,
Backline specifically, I imagine
it was
that's such an
huge.
uptick for you guys.
Oh, it was huge. The night, I'll never forget it. It was Super Bowl Sunday, and Chapel posted a story. It was just a story about, I'm donating to Backline and you should too. And from Sunday night to Monday, our Instagram got shut down because Instagram thought, because we were getting so many new followers and new traction, that we were a fake account. And
Oh my God.
so I
Oh,
had
Instagram.
to go to Instagram and show them, like, no, 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 we are a legit organization. Here's what's happening. So it's just the power of someone's platform and voice like that. I had never personally experienced something like that. It was a wild experience.
I
I have a
bet.
little bit of a logistical question because I think this comes up a lot for a lot of our listeners, ourselves, people that we've worked with, and can absolutely have an impact on our mental health, especially when we're burned out or trying to make space for the creative things that we love. You've talked about these different roles that you've landed, which I'm guessing that kind of pays the bills and then frees up your time and space for pursuing your creative projects when and how you want to, which I think that's like the goal. It's either I'm 100% making a living off of my work or I have a job I'm passionate about that pays the bills to afford that time to do so. What would you say to somebody that's in a season of trying to figure out that balance or figure out what to do?
I
Hmm.
love that you use the word season. I've been using that a lot, having to remind myself that if something feels heavy or overwhelming, that it is just that. It's a season, it will pass. No feeling is final.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and
That's really good.
that's been a mantra of mine. I would say to those struggling with that, try to find a job where you don't have to turn parts of yourself off. I worked so many jobs in the past where I could not be an artist. I could not even be a creative person. And it was just this role for X amount of hours per day. I'm so grateful to have worked at Terra where I could be an artist and have that perspective and creativity. And now Backline, the same thing, because it is really tough. Even now, it's very tough to work a full time job and then still have the mental capacity or desire to, okay, I'm going to go into the studio now and create. I think
Mm-hmm.
all about routine, I have found for me. Every day, I'm going to dedicate X amount of time to my creative practice. So,
Mhm.
whether maybe I only have time for 20 minutes of vocal warm ups, I'm going to do that. It is me showing up for myself. Oh, cool. I have an hour. I'm going to work on writing today, or I'm going to track this song idea. I have found a routine to be crucial for
Mm.
just feeling more connected to your creative practice while also maintaining that 9 to 5 job, which is really tough. Sometimes I've really had to kind of reckon with a identity. And I think absolutely, the goal is always to be a full-time artist. I've never had that opportunity. For me, this is just what I know. At least I'm able to still work within the realm of the industry. I would say don't get lost in it. I definitely have been lost in pouring everything into my job and then feeling really empty when it came to creating. And so I think finding that balance, again, if it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour a day, of being able to reconnect with yourself is so crucial.
We had a guest a few weeks ago, and she came from a competitive swimming background. She's a raw chocolate maker now, like
What?
wildly different life. She was talking about that discipline, and different words resonate with different people. You're saying routine, she was saying discipline. I've likened it to rituals that thread
Mhm.
my days together because I'm a Scorpio. I'm like, I need a little magic, a little mystery. And it's like the regularity that it does take to plant the seed,
Yes.
water it a little bit more. And here we go. I really love the way that you've worded that, giving people permission to look for something where you don't have to turn off parts of yourself. That was gold because I think
Mhm.
that is a trap people get into, and then it makes their choices feel even heavier of, "Oh, if I make this choice to go get a job, I will have to turn off parts of myself," instead of opening up to the possibility of, "Well, what if you don't?"
Right, which can be really tough. I think I have had to really reckon with that and realize I can find my own lane in this industry. I don't have to turn parts off of myself, but it can be tough to find the right role for you or the right space, but it's definitely worth it, I would say. And I used to hate the word routine. I used to absolutely hate it. I thought that's death to creativity until I got a bit older and realized that's actually how you breed creativity. That's how you can at least rely on it a little bit more by showing up for yourself. That's how I view it because I don't want to do vocal warm ups every day. It's like really boring,
Sure.
stretching. But
Mhm.
I try to frame it as I'm showing up for myself. I'm showing up for my voice today. Yeah.
It's funny because one of my favorite quotes is, I don't even know if it's a quote, but I've heard it a bunch of places. So sorry, I'm not butchering somebody's name. But it basically says something to the effect of creative people need time to be bored, which sometimes feels like the opposite of routine. It's interesting because I've gone through moments of having so much on that when I would go to create, it felt like I was just clocking in. I was like checking the box, but like like I'd listen back and I don't like any of these boxes I've checked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there was this moment of like when I started to prioritize mental health in a way that I hadn't, where it was like, okay, when I can get to a place where I don't feel like I have to create, what happens? And I think it's twofold. I think there is a point when you're like, God, it feels really good to not have to feel like I need to crack my own whip to be like, because for pretty much ever since I've been making music since I was like 14, it was like, if there's downtime, you need to be
Yeah.
writing their next record. I feel like I've heard that so many times. You got to be prepared for the next thing. You never know, right? That whole thing. And then I think when you are someone who is very passionate and wants to do a good job for yourself, that pressure can almost eat away at yourself a little bit inside, right?
Absolutely. I know that I need to take a step away when I start feeling overwhelmed or starting to dread I have to go into the studio. It's like, hold on, why am I dreading this? Like,
Right. I have
why?
to literally tell myself, David, this is supposed to be fun. I have to tell myself that, which is embarrassing to admit, but it's so true.
No, but same. I've had that conversation so many times. And I think I'm learning that when I'm starting to feel that way, I need to take the pressure off and either pivot and do something that has low stakes, which is
Right.
vocal warm-ups.
Right.
That's 20 minutes of vocal warm-ups. You're not having to be creative. You're just doing what you know to do. And then I have found it leads to other things. Sometimes I'll pick up a guitar and start playing a cover. And I find that leads to a song idea.
Yeah.
But I think really trying to figure out ways. I have something I've learned over the last couple of years is this shouldn't feel like punishment. It did for a long time. I felt like I had to write songs when I was in the deep throes of depression or anxiety, or every show had to feel like I was going to war. And I'm like, why? Like, where does that even come from? I like
Sure.
to like smile on stage, which for me was kind of revolutionary. Like, this can be a joyous thing and it doesn't have to feel heavy. It doesn't have to feel like work. The process of it all is so interesting to me, but I'm trying to look at it with that lens of, oh, this is interesting, rather than this feels overwhelming.
What I'm hearing is the ability to be in the moment without judgment, right? Like there are times where it's like, if I could just not, if I don't feel like creating because I'm not inspired by something, that's totally fine. And yeah, sometimes it is like, I'll just look on Bandcamp to see what new tracks I want to play and figure out like how to put a DJ set together on my couch. Like very passive, but I do find, and this the other part I was going to say is that when that time is there, the stagnation is what starts my depression. When I'm not engaging in those things, I'm bored. I'm like, you know what, like that's when all the questioning starts. There is such a delicate line of how do I stay on track, but also how do I show up and honor myself? And that shifts. It sounds like
It does.
it's shifted for you as well.
Yeah, because I've looked back and thought, like, just reminiscing on writing some of my favorite songs of my own. And those moments were always spontaneous. They were always just kind of messing around and playing. So I'm trying to get back into the playfulness of creating music rather than setting these arbitrary expectations for myself, because that's what they are. I don't have a label or a deadline. So it's like, okay, if I don't have that, let me try to find the joy in creating this. Otherwise, what's the point?
You know, before you were talking about later on, you learned, oh, maybe it is a good idea to have some goals. And there is that dance with allowing space and letting play sort of have things unfold. But then maybe you have set a goal around something. And so kind of playing with, I don't know what, this isn't it. I keep thinking like naughty or nice. Don't ask me. But it's like tension
Makes
or
sense.
release. It's like
Yeah.
yin and yang. It's like friction and burn and like sweetness and solace. It's like finding those two things and how they can complement each other and that they don't have to be at war with one another.
Yeah, I mean, something I'll actually show y'all, but it's so funny. It's a book, or it's a notebook that I got called What Not to Overthink. And at first I was like, I don't know if I don't know, like, is this cheesy or whatever? It's been so helpful because it breaks down your day or a week and all of the goals you have. And so I've been trying to look at things in that way. I have a whiteboard and I'm thinking of it quarterly or seasonally. This season, I'm going to list 3 major goals that I personally want to achieve. So far, I've been able to. And that feels really good, but they're not unattainable. They're very realistic. And then they help me make decisions of where to
Mhm.
invest my time and who to invest my time with. That's been very helpful.
Sounds like a wonderful coaching tool, honestly.
Yes, please.
What a lot of it is.
It's been really it's been so helpful of just trying to break it all down, and instead of, I don't know. I think it really is like the snowball effect. If you accomplish some smaller goals, there's momentum. That's been my
Mhm.
word for the year, by the way.
Momentum.
I chose that word rather than a New Year's resolution. I chose that on New Year's Eve. That is going to be my year, or that's my word for the year. I need to feel momentum on a daily basis. Otherwise, that's when my depression kicks in. It doesn't
Mm.
need to be major. There just needs to be some progress, some forward movement, whether that means reading a book, which I've done a lot of this year, which again, just feeling like progress in some regard to
Mhm.
the gym or to writing or whatnot. Yeah, it's helped me just stay on track.
Just a quick aside, because I was looking at your Instagram last week and I'm like, what's Tara up to? And seeing your studio build that I think you're
Yes.
in now. And like I mean, momentum is the word for that. Like any building project, ask me how I
Oh,
know, that is the physical manifestation of how necessary the word momentum is in breaking it down into tiny pieces to get those quick
yes.
Mm.
wins and build that energy.
Exactly. The industry can be really tough because so much of it is out of your control. But building something, learning how, it's tangible, it's tactile. You're actually putting your energy into a space where you will create. For me, it really is about keeping some momentum, whatever it is, just that forward progress. And learning how to build this thing was a wild experience, but it kept me busy, which is good.
Yeah. That's literally sounds like me in my therapy session 2 weeks ago. I was like, I think it's just when I don't have things going. Like
Yeah.
basically when there's not momentum is when I get like real
Right.
like, ugh, ugh,
Right.
like just huffy. And I'm like, girl, keep doing stuff. Calm down.
I know, right? It's the same. I feel like that's deep unrest in my soul when I don't have something to focus on or something to do. Kind of
Mm.
learning rather than hitting against the wall, if something's not working, to pivot and to focus on something else for the time being. And then maybe go back to whatever it was that wasn't working, whether that's a song, finding a show, or whatever it is.
Put
I
it
just,
down, let it breathe, come
I,
back
re-
to it.
I committed to reaching out to someone about taking piano lessons. I think that's something that's going to hold some structure for me, which I love.
I love that for you.
Yeah, it's a whole, we can talk about that another time, but lots of reasons why I really want to do it. But tell us, what is something that is coming up? What's something that you're working on or excited about that you want to
Yeah.
let people know and to keep an eye out for?
I've fallen in love with music again, which feels really good.
Amazing.
So we are headlining the San Jose Jazz Festival, which is wild because I do not feel like
Sick.
jazz at all. But I'm excited for that intersection and for what that entails. I'm embracing it. I'm working on new music, which feels really good. It took me a while to find my community here in Sacramento, but I feel like I'm finally finding it. And it's at this really awesome studio space with folks, hoping to have something out in the fall and then also in the spring. I've also recently fallen back in love with DJing.
I saw that
It
iced coffee post.
so I think I'm going to start a little series, iced coffee and DJing, and just have fun with it. That picks up my mood so much. That is for my mental health. Dance music is mental health to me.
Yep.
I read something about like house music at 120 to 130 BPM. Like I was like, "Oh, no wonder I love it so much." Makes
It's
so much
science
sense.
early.
Fact.
So I'm like deep right now in all of these studies that are being done within specific BPMs that are linked to helping
Mm,
depression and anxiety.
Cool.
that's fascinating.
I have a lot of DJ gigs coming up, which I'm like leaning into, and it's so fun. Just follow rituals of mine to stay on top of all the events. But yeah, I'm feeling that momentum.
Well, we'll definitely drop
I
your
love
links
that.
in the show notes for people so that they can take a peep at your iced coffee DJ sets.
Yes.
That probably doesn't have its own Instagram account yet, but maybe it'll go viral too.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see.
That's amazing. It's always so good to see you. And I know we're sitting on a track that we need to figure out what to do with, but hopefully more in the future.
Absolutely.
And I'm just really grateful that you were able to take the time out and let us know what's going on. People can learn about you and just share your ability to trudge the road of unknown and also killing it at the same time in many capacities.
Thank you so much. This was so fun. I really needed this conversation. So I want to thank you both for having me and sharing this space. It was a great way to start the week.
I mean, I definitely needed it too. So I'm glad the feeling was all mutual. It was awesome to meet you and get to talk to you more and learn more about you.
So excited for what y'all are doing. So thanks for having me be a part of it. Awesome.
Oh, hope to give you a hug soon in the future. Maybe.
Yes, please. And we need to have some house music involved. Like, let's please. I need that in my life.
All right, my dear. Enjoy the rest of your week and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you,
course.
Tara.
Bye.
Bye. Hey there. Thanks for listening, and we hope you're feeling more curious and inspired to make a step towards your passion. To keep you connected, take a second to follow us on Instagram at Absolutely Sure No Idea, and follow us on Apple Music, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts for upcoming episodes. Lastly, help us grow this baby by sharing an episode with a friend who needs to hear it. All right, until next time.